Back when smoking was healthy and sexism was marketing strategy, ads were basically lawsuits waiting to happen. 1. The doctor's favorite cigarette. In the 1950s, doctors weren't just recommending cigarettes. They were starring in the ads. Picture this: a smiling man in a white coat holding a pack of Lucky Strikes like it's a prescription. The headline literally read, "More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette." That's right, healthcare professionals were moonlighting as nicotine influencers. The ad campaign ran nationwide, with actors posing as medical experts, reassuring Americans that smoking soothed throats and reduced stress. Because nothing says "trust us" like combining medicine and lung damage. Today, this kind of ad would result in more lawsuits than puffs. False health claims, fake endorsements, and obvious manipulation. It's the trifecta of corporate delusion. But back then, it worked. Millions believed cigarettes were basically stress vitamins. The irony? Half those same doctors probably ended up treating the diseases they helped advertise. The 1950s, when your family physician doubled as your Marlboro man. 2. The tapeworm diet miracle ad. Imagine opening a women's magazine in 1920 and finding an ad for jar-packed tapeworms, nature's weight loss wonder. Yes, it was real. These stomach-dwelling freeloaders were marketed as a safe, effortless way to slim down. The ad claimed they helped digestion by eating your food before you could, turning parasitic infestation into a beauty trend. Women were promised elegance, energy, and a waistline so small it could legally disappear. Never mind the vomiting, fever, or, worms. Back then, medical oversight was optional. If it sold, it worked. Today, this ad would be Exhibit A in a CDC horror documentary. But in the 20s, it was glamorous. Fancy packaging, testimonials from happy customers, and zero shame. The wildest part? Some people actually imported these miracle capsules, because nothing screams health goals like sharing your lunch with a parasite. Talk about a diet that truly eats you alive. 3. Lysol, the feminine hygiene solution. If you thought Lysol was just for countertops, buckle up. In the 1930s, the brand's biggest market wasn't cleaning kitchens, it was cleaning women. Ads boldly suggested that Lysol could restore marital bliss by being used as a feminine hygiene rinse. Yes, actual disinfectant. The copy implied that unhappy husbands were the result of wives being less fresh. It was manipulative, sexist, and catastrophically unsafe. Basically, Mad Men meets Biohazard. The packaging featured smiling housewives clutching bottles of poison, promising confidence and closeness. Spoiler, it also caused burns, infections, and infertility. Yet for decades, it sold like crazy because women were told their value depended on smelling like lemon-scented obedience. Today, that same ad would trigger lawsuits from the FDA, the FTC, and possibly every woman on Earth. But back then, it was normal. Nothing says romance like disinfecting yourself for your man. The 30s, when love meant Lysol. 4. The baby beer ad. Nothing says good parenting like giving your infant a cold one. In the 1940s, several breweries proudly advertised their beer as health food for babies. One ad for Schlitz even showed a smiling mother pouring beer into a glass with the tagline, "The drink that keeps mom healthy and baby happy." Doctors, yes, doctors, were quoted claiming that a little beer aids digestion for nursing mothers and even infants. Another company suggested that beer could help babies sleep soundly and develop strong appetites. Translation: give your newborn a buzz and call it wellness. It's the kind of ad that makes modern pediatricians want to scream into a pillow. Today, that would trigger lawsuits, federal raids, and about 12 public safety campaigns. But back then, it was part of the cultural wallpaper. Beer was wholesome, doctors were endorsers, and alcoholism was just called being social. So next time you see a "drink responsibly" label, remember, once upon a time, America's slogan was basically "drink, baby, drink." 5. When soap sold racism. Before Dove and inclusive beauty, soap ads were basically hate speech wrapped in bubbles. In the early 1900s, companies like Pears and Fairy Soap ran horrifyingly racist campaigns claiming their soap could literally wash black skin white. One ad featured a white child scrubbing a black child in a tub, beaming as the dirt came off to reveal a clean white face underneath. The message? Cleanliness equals whiteness. These were mainstream ads, printed in national magazines, not fringe nonsense. They marketed racism as hygiene, turning prejudice into a business model. Today, these would spark outrage, boycotts, and international lawsuits, but in the colonial era, they were considered charming. Even their slogans were shameless. Lines like, "A pure complexion is a mark of purity," were sold as moral truths. The only thing dirtier than those ads was the thinking behind them. Proof that sometimes the real thing that needed cleaning was society itself. 6. Sugar, the breakfast of health champions. In the 1960s, the sugar industry launched an ad campaign so manipulative it deserves its own documentary. Full-page spreads proudly declared, "Sugar can be the willpower you need to stay slim." Yes, eat sugar to lose weight. That's like telling people to cure insomnia by drinking espresso. Ads showed radiant women eating cereal mountains of sugar, claiming it kept hunger away and boosted energy. Behind the scenes, sugar lobbyists were paying scientists to downplay the link between sugar and heart disease, blaming fat instead. So while America was ditching butter and loading up on Frosted Flakes, the industry was laughing all the way to the bank. Kids' cereals became candy in disguise, and breakfast basically turned into dessert. Today, that campaign would spark lawsuits, investigations, and 1,000 angry dietitians. But in the 60s, it was gospel truth. Nothing says balanced breakfast like 47 grams of deception. 7. The radium beauty craze. In the 1920s, glowing skin wasn't just a compliment, it was radioactive fact. Companies sold radium-infused face creams, tonics, and even toothpaste, claiming they would rejuvenate the skin and restore youthful vitality. Ads featured glamorous women literally glowing with health, unaware they were slowly irradiating themselves. The most famous product, though Radia, was a hit across Europe and America, combining radium and thorium, two substances that today would require a hazmat suit to handle. Doctors endorsed it, celebrities used it, and nobody questioned why their mirror started to look like a nightlight. The tragic irony? Some factory workers who made the products, later known as the Radium Girls, died from radiation poisoning. But back then, the glow was seen as divine. It wasn't until decades later that people realized the only thing radiantly beautiful about the product was its half-life. Today, it'd be the world's fastest class-action lawsuit. In the 20s, it was self-care. 8. The cocaine for toothaches. Miracle. Before Tylenol, there was cocaine, and it came in adorable little bottles for kids. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, drugstores proudly sold cocaine toothache drops for children as young as 4. The ads promised instant relief and cheerful behavior, which, yeah, no kidding. For just 15 cents, parents could buy pure liquid cocaine, apply it to a child's gums, and watch Junior go from screaming to jazz hands in seconds. One ad even featured a smiling toddler holding a bottle, looking like he'd just solved world peace. The slogan? "They'll sleep soundly tonight." Spoiler: they probably didn't. Cocaine was legal, unregulated, and marketed as a family remedy, not a narcotic. It took decades and thousands of tragedies before the government realized maybe, just maybe, narcotics shouldn't be part of your toddler's bedtime routine. Today, this ad would make national news and congressional hearings. Back then, it was just another bright idea from the golden age of bad medicine. 9. Babies for sale. The Gerber Perfect Baby Contest. In the 1930s, Gerber decided that marketing baby food wasn't enough. They wanted to own America's definition of cuteness. So they launched a nationwide Perfect Baby Contest, inviting parents to send photos of their infants for the chance to become the new Gerber baby. The ads promised fame, fortune, and a place in American history. What they didn't mention was that the company used those submitted photos for years, without consent or payment, to advertise their products. Tens of thousands of proud parents unknowingly signed over image rights in microscopic fine print. Some even discovered their children's faces on baby food jars years later, their toddlers now accidental corporate mascots. Today, this would end in lawsuits, TikTok outrage, and congressional hearings about privacy and exploitation. But in the 30s, it was seen as wholesome family fun. The ultimate irony? The winning baby, Ann Turner Cook, wasn't even a finalist in the contest. Her sketch was submitted separately by an artist friend, and it became one of the most recognizable faces in history. So Gerber got rich, America got sentimental, and a whole generation of parents got legally scammed by a spoonful of pure marketing genius. 10. Blondes have more fun. The ad that invented hair color. Stereotypes before the 1950s. Dyeing your hair was considered scandalous, something only actresses or questionable women did. Then came Clairol's 1956 campaign. Does she or doesn't she? A tagline that changed beauty forever. The ads featured angelic housewives with shimmering blonde hair, hinting that maybe they dyed it, maybe they hadn't. It was a genius way to make hair coloring seem innocent, even virtuous. Within 5 years, sales exploded, and so did stereotypes. Suddenly, every ad, joke, and sitcom decided that blondes have more fun, while brunettes became the serious ones and redheads were just trouble. It was gender marketing disguised as liberation. Women thought they were expressing individuality. They were actually buying conformity in a bottle. Today, that same campaign would be shredded for reinforcing sexist tropes and emotional manipulation. But in the 50s, it was revolutionary, a beauty rebellion wrapped in peroxide and puns. Clairol didn't just sell dye, they sold identity, and the idea that self-worth came in shades of yellow. 11. The married women need appliances era. If you ever need proof that the 1950s misunderstood feminism, just look at their appliance ads. They were a bizarre love letter to domestic servitude. Companies like General Electric and Hoover ran full-page spreads showing housewives kissing their new vacuum cleaners, eyes closed in ecstasy, under headlines like, "Christmas morning she'll never forget." Translation, give her a washing machine instead of a diamond, and she'll thank you forever. The copy read like satire, for the woman who has everything, except a new iron. These ads didn't just sell products. They sold a worldview where a woman's happiness depended on how shiny her floors were. And if she wasn't smiling, clearly she just needed a better blender. Today these would go viral for all the wrong reasons. Domestic goddess fail. But in the 1950s, they were aspirational. The American dream came with a picket fence, a husband in a fedora, and a Hoover that whispered, "You're enough, as long as you're spotless." It's retro comedy gold, and a reminder that marketing has always known how to weaponize love. 12. The cigarette diet plan. In the 1930s and 40s, before calorie counting went mainstream, cigarette companies saw a golden opportunity: sell nicotine as a diet plan. Lucky Strike's campaign proudly declared, "Reach for a Lucky instead of a sweet." The message was brutally simple: if you want to stay thin, just light up. The ads targeted women, showing glamorous models holding cigarettes like magic wands of self-control. It wasn't just marketing, it was psychological warfare disguised as empowerment. They promised elegance, popularity, and slim confidence, implying that a pack a day kept the pounds away. It worked. Sales among women skyrocketed. Hollywood even joined in, with starlets puffing their way through interviews about staying camera ready. Behind the scenes, doctors were already warning of health risks, but the tobacco industry buried the data and kept buying endorsements. Today, this campaign would trigger class action lawsuits, congressional hearings, and public outrage. But in its time, it rebranded addiction as aspiration. They didn't just sell cigarettes, they sold self-esteem in smoke form. It's the ad that proved beauty standards could literally kill, and people would still thank you for it. 13. The radiation water. Health drink. Long before energy drinks and detox juices, America's elite were chugging something far more terrifying: radioactive water. In the 1920s, a product called Radioactive promised perpetual energy, youth, and vitality. Its secret ingredient? Actual radium. Wealthy socialites and athletes drank it daily, believing they were harnessing atomic power for health. The ads showed glowing bottles and men in tuxedos proclaiming they'd never felt more alive. And they weren't wrong, at least until their jaws started falling off. One famous victim, industrialist Eben Byers, drank over 1,400 bottles before dying of radiation poisoning so severe that doctors reportedly buried him in a lead-lined coffin. The company's slogan? A cure for the living dead. You can't make that up. The FDA eventually banned Radioactive, but not before it became the poster child for unregulated marketing madness. Today, it'd be the equivalent of Red Bull containing plutonium. Yet in the roaring 20s, it was a luxury wellness brand, because if it glowed, it had to be good for you. The true moral? Never trust a drink that doubles as a nightlight. 14. The baby cage balcony ad. In the 1930s, city parenting hit new heights, literally. Apartment-dwelling parents were encouraged to hang baby cages outside their windows so infants could get fresh air. These wire contraptions were bolted to brick walls like mini chicken coops dangling several stories above the street. Ads in magazines like Modern Mechanics proudly featured smiling mothers, placing babies into these suspended death traps, promising sunlight and vitality. The design came complete with a safety latch, as if a thin strip of metal could comfort anyone watching their child sway 50 feet above traffic. The concept was sold as science-backed childcare, with endorsements from baby health experts who apparently hated babies. No one seemed to question the risk of pigeons, rain, or gravity. Today, you'd be arrested before you could screw one into your window. But back then, it was modern innovation. Because nothing says responsible parenting like turning your kid into a sky exhibit. Imagine explaining that to Child Protective Services. No officer, he wasn't in danger. He was airing out. Welcome to the 1930s, where safety was optional and parenting was just extreme sports for adults in hats. 15. The cocaine-infused wine ad. Before energy drinks, there was Vin Mariani, a miracle tonic that blended fine French wine with pharmaceutical-grade cocaine. Marketed from the 1860s through the early 1900s, it was advertised as the elixir of life that cured fatigue, anxiety, and pretty much existing. The ads weren't subtle. They featured glowing testimonials from popes, presidents, and even Queen Victoria, all cheerfully high on the same recipe. The slogan claimed it restored health and spirit, which sure if you define restored as temporarily invincible. People drank it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, calling it medicinal self-care. When Prohibition arrived decades later, the cocaine was removed, but not before it inspired another little invention, Coca-Cola, originally made with a similar formula. So yes, your favorite soft drink started as a prescription for exhaustion that doubled as a rave in a bottle. Today, this ad would trigger about 500 FDA violations and possibly a SWAT team. But in the 19th century, it was classy, elegant, and totally normal to mix Cabernet with cocaine. Because nothing says healthy lifestyle like being wine drunk and wide awake at 4 a.m., writing poetry and seeing sounds. 16. The melts fat while you sleep. Soap. In the 1950s, American marketing hit its most delusional stride, a soap that promised to melt away body fat while you slept. The product, Fat Off Soap, claimed its scientifically proven ingredients could dissolve fat through your skin. No diet, no exercise, just suds. The ad showed slim women smiling at their bathroom mirrors while holding bars of soap labeled "lose inches instantly." They even encouraged daily thigh massages with the product to stimulate results, which was basically just marketing code for desperation. Consumers bought it by the truckload, scrubbing themselves into disappointment. No one questioned how soap could defy biology. It was the era of blind optimism and chemical trust. When complaints finally rolled in, the company doubled down with pseudoscience about subcutaneous metabolism enhancement. Translation: they made it up. Today, this would be crushed by the FTC before the first lather. But in the 50s, it sold hope, and that's all anyone wanted. The only thing Fade Off ever truly washed away was people's common sense and their money. Still, you've got to admire the confidence. Lose fat in your sleep might be the boldest lie ever told in a bathroom. 17. The Asbestos Snow holiday ads. There was a time when Christmas wasn't complete without a healthy dusting of industrial toxins. In the 1940s and 50s, ads promoted asbestos snow, yes, actual asbestos, as the perfect fireproof decoration for your tree and windowsills. Companies proudly marketed it as safe, clean, and forever white, selling bags of carcinogenic fluff for kids to sprinkle across the living room. One particularly festive ad showed Santa himself surrounded by clouds of asbestos, smiling like he wasn't inhaling future lawsuits. Hollywood even joined in. The Wizard of Oz famously used asbestos for its magical snow scenes. The stuff was everywhere: tinsel, ornaments, fake fireplaces. Parents loved it because it didn't melt, burn, or stain, just slowly poisoned everyone instead. Today, the phrase "fireproof Christmas" sounds comforting, until you realize it was powered by one of history's deadliest materials. Modern decorators would call it a hazmat nightmare. Back then, it was winter wonderland in a bag. Nothing says holiday cheer like carcinogens in your cocoa. The only miracle of that Christmas was that anyone survived it long enough to complain. 18. The cigarette ads for asthma relief. In the early 20th century, cigarette ads didn't just glamorize smoking, they prescribed it. Brands like Dr. Batty's asthma cigarettes claimed tobacco smoke actually cured respiratory problems. Their ads promised relief from asthma, hay fever, colds, and all catarrhal diseases. The logic: smoke would open up the lungs, because apparently setting them on fire was considered medicine. Packaging featured serene women exhaling clouds of healing vapors, while taglines like "Breathe easy again" convinced customers they were buying health in a box. Some ads even used fake doctors with stethoscopes for added authority. It worked, sales soared, and generations of patients literally smoked themselves sicker. When research began linking tobacco to cancer, the industry didn't apologize, it just pivoted to a new market: the refreshing, relaxing cigarette for modern living. Today, those claims would spark lawsuits, bans, and public outrage. But in the early 1900s, it was cutting-edge science. It's the perfect snapshot of an era when medical advice came from marketing interns, and people sincerely believed that coughing meant the cure was working. Nothing says "breathe easy" quite like menthol-flavored irony. 19. The opium for teething babies. Ad nothing says a soothing comfort like knocking your baby out with opium. In the late 1800s, a miracle product called Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup became a household favorite. The label promised to quiet restless infants and ease teething pain. What it didn't say up front was that each bottle contained morphine, alcohol, and enough opium to tranquilize a horse. Parents loved it. It worked instantly. Babies stopped crying, slept for hours, and looked peaceful. Sadly, many never woke up. The company brushed off deaths as isolated cases and kept selling millions of bottles. Ads showed smiling mothers, cherubic babies, and glowing testimonials about blessed relief. It was Victorian comfort culture, backed by chemistry. The government eventually banned it in the early 1900s, calling it a baby killer in a bottle. Today, this ad would end careers, lawsuits, and possibly the entire pharmaceutical industry. But back then, it was just good parenting. Proof that if you package poison with enough lace and cursive fonts, people will thank you for it. 20. The lead-filled makeup craze beauty has always had a price, but in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was often fatal. High society women used Venetian ceruse, a lead-based makeup that promised porcelain skin and eternal youth. The ads called it the secret of noble radiance. The ingredients? White lead powder mixed with vinegar, essentially slow-motion death paste. It smoothed wrinkles by destroying skin cells and brightened complexions by poisoning the blood. Women who used it long-term developed blackened teeth, facial scars, and a charming symptom known as lead palsy. Yet they kept buying it because beauty manuals said a pale face proved refinement. Even Queen Elizabeth I reportedly used it to hide smallpox scars, giving her that famous ghostly glow, literally. The irony? The same product that promised everlasting beauty made its users look like decaying porcelain dolls. Today, beauty ads brag about clean ingredients and tox-free formulas, but it's worth remembering the original makeup influencers were selling nerve damage in a jar and calling it glamour. 21. The electric belt of manliness. Turn-of-the-century America was obsessed with electricity and apparently thought it could fix everything, including masculinity. Enter the Pulvermacher galvanic belt, a battery-powered contraption advertised as a scientific cure for male weakness. The ads promised vigor, vitality, and virility, powered by the healing current of life. Translation: it was an electric jockstrap. Men strapped it around their waist and, well, their important parts, trusting a mild electrocution to restore manhood. The results? Mostly burns, confusion, and regret. The marketing was relentless. Bold headlines screamed "electricity is life," while illustrations showed muscular men holding lightning bolts like Greek gods. Thousands bought it, believing technology had finally conquered biology. In reality, they'd just purchased a glorified cattle prod for gentlemen. Modern equivalents still exist, usually rebranded as biohacking devices or wellness stimulators. But the Pulvermacher belt remains the crown jewel of bad science. Proof that men have always been willing to shock themselves rather than admit maybe, just maybe, they're fine. 22. The Lucky Rabbit's Foot Cigarettes. By the 1920s, advertisers would put anything in a cigarette pack to sell more of them, even Superstition. The Lucky Rabbit's Foot brand claimed their cigarettes brought good fortune, warded off evil spirits, and ensured success in love and business. The ads featured glamorous women blowing smoke shaped like four-leaf clovers, while men winked over poker tables. It was all part of the Smoke Your Luck campaign, proof that the marketing department had lost its collective mind. Each pack even came with a tiny rabbit's foot charm attached, as if a severed limb could offset lung damage. People bought it by the millions, believing nicotine and mysticism made a winning combo. The company leaned hard into the absurdity, releasing slogans like "Fortune favors the filtered." The only thing it favored was emphysema. Today, the concept would get canceled in a heartbeat for animal cruelty, false claims, and terrible taste. But in the Roaring '20s, it was modern magic. Nicotine, nonsense, and pure advertising alchemy. 23. The Radioactive Toothpaste. Ad: if you brushed your teeth in the 1940s, there's a chance your toothpaste glowed in the dark. Doramad Radioactive Toothpaste promised brighter smiles through atomic energy. Ads showed beaming families brushing their way to nuclear perfection, claiming the mild radiation stimulated gums and strengthened enamel. It was marketed as cutting-edge science, the kind that made you feel patriotic for brushing. The truth? It was literally radioactive, containing thorium and uranium compounds that slowly irradiated users. But hey, it came in stylish packaging. The ad even bragged that it made your mouth feel warm and alive, which is a nice way to describe radiation burns. Customers loved it until scientists finally broke the news. The glow wasn't whitening, it was warning. The company quietly disappeared, and the toothpaste became a collector's item for people who enjoy owning medical disasters. Nothing says minty fresh like mild nuclear decay. It's the perfect finale to an era that marketed death with a smile. Humanity's creativity is endless, and so is its stupidity. Which had shocked you the most?